A very good morning to everyone. On behalf of Women's Studies College, Women's Studies Center, Lady Brabourne College, a very warm welcome to all the participants and respected speakers. Today is the 6th day of the International Online Workshop of Her Story, Past, Present and Future. Today, we have 3 speakers in the pre-lunch session. First, we have Professor Tumpa Mukherjee. Professor Mukherjee is an assistant professor of sociology in Women's Christian College. The title of her paper is Her Story in Police, One Step Forward, Two Steps Backward. Professor Mukherjee, you have 45 to 50 minutes for presenting your paper, ma'am. And participants, please put your questions in the chat box, and we will have 10 minutes of interactive session. Now over to Professor Mukherjee. You may present your paper now. Thank you.
So to begin with, my paper is, its title is Her Story in Police, One Step Forward and Two Steps Backward. And actually, I would like to present it in this way. Like, my first part would be on the socio-historical evolution of women police in India. The second part would be on the problems they are confronting, as well as the last part would be their contemporary situation. So, as we all know that, the institution of police is basically, it is dominated by the male persons, as well as it is, it is the world's most masculinized occupation, and it is dominated by men as well as by male values. And, this culturally ascribed these stereotyped masculine traits like boldness, risk-taking, aggression, competitiveness, assertiveness, commanding voice, and assertion of autonomy. Such stereotype traits are regarded as quintessential values to be very successful in such a profession like police. However, such stereotyped masculine attributes are very antithetical to the so-called stereotyped feminine qualities which women acquire due to their socialization. So there lies this conflict, which I'm going to discuss as I proceed. And so far as police is concerned, the image has always been very aggressive, coercive, using force. They are crime fighters. So the image of police and the stereotyped feminine qualities which we associate with women, they are antithetical to each other. Yet women have included into this male profession, and at present the percentage of women in police in India is only 10%. That means in 2022 it is only 10. 10 out of every 100 is actually a women police person. So far as the historical evolution is concerned, we find mention of women guards in in Valmiki's Ramayana, where Sita is being guarded in Ashok Vatika by women guards. And of course, Kautilya's Arthashastra also mentions about Anthar Vanishkas, who are basically women guards who are guarding the harem of the kings. And some of the women were employed as spies for certain sensitive assignments. So this was all the information we get about women in police in ancient India. And so far as the medieval period is concerned, the role of women in statecraft to some extent declined in general, and not much information is available on women police in medieval period. So, and till 20th century, there has been no record of induction of women in police. What we find again, mentions of certain guards known as asils. They were used to guard the female members of the Nizam's family in Hyderabad. And these people were very illiterate, and they were trained, and in those days they were paid 25 rupees per month. So this was the ultimate information we find till the early part of the 20th century. Now, as you see the lady on the right side of your screen, she is the first women police constable in India, and at that time she was the first women police constable of the princely state of Travancore, and her name was C. Kamla Amma. She had joined the police force in the year 1933 at the age of 18. She was trained for 5 years, and at that point of time, she was receiving a salary of rupees 6. Her basic duty was to arrest the women criminals, to help the male police in arresting the women criminals. Now, what happens in those days, if a woman is joining a police force, she was not allowed to get married. But this lady, she fell in love with a constable called Bhaskaran Nair, and they eloped and they got married. So when she got pregnant, she was removed from the police, from the job of policing. And after independence only, when in the state of Kerala, when the communist government came to power, she requested the then chief minister to reinstate her. And as she was very physically fit, and she had to go through some physical test, and she was capable enough to, she qualified all the physical tests, and then she was recruited again in the Kerala Police Constabulary, where she served for 10 years, after which she retired. So this is her story. So far as women police in India, again we get certain information about women police in the year 1939. Actually, in 1938, there was a labor strike in Kanpur. Now, in this labor strike, what happened is many women had participated, and they were obstructing the gates of the factory. As a result, men police had to physically lift such women. So the British government decided that, we do need women police, because it is not possible for men police always to physically lift women, and it may raise questions of sexual assault. So it is better we recruit few women police personnel. So for the first time in Kanpur, again in North India actually, in Kanpur, few women were recruited in the year 1939. After that, we find that during the pre-independence period, women police were appointed in the port cities of Bombay, Calcutta, Madras. They were basically involved in frisking duty of women who were leaving for their native home, that is Pakistan. And you see this photograph, these are the women police officers, and they are being trained by a male officer, and the picture is not very of a very good quality, but this person is a male officer who is actually training the women police personnel. Then what happens is that in as we know that we have in a sense that in 1947 partition of India took place, and India and Pakistan was formed. And at that point of time, during the partition, there was a lot of communal struggle, communal violence, and bloodshed. So women on both sides of the border, they were raped, they were abducted, they were kidnapped, they were sold into prostitution, and women were constantly living under the constant threat of sexual assault. So on 6th December 1947, that is 3.5 months after the partition, the two newly formed nations, India and Pakistan, came to an agreement which is known as the Inter-Dominion Treaty on the question of recovering these women who had been kidnapped, abducted, rehabilitated, and rehabilitate them in their native place. So this treaty was signed that both India and Pakistan will assist each other in helping to rehabilitate such women. And as a result, so that women are not further manhandled and women are not further sexually assaulted by men, so a drive was created for inducting women into the police force. So for the first time, Ministry of Relief and Rehabilitation came forward, and they opted to recruit few women police for recovery and rehabilitation of these kidnapped, abducted women and girls. So this is the story till the partition of India. And as we see that though the entry of women into the police was symbolizing a progressive trend, but it actually implies, if you analyze it, it's a traditional ideology in which women are considered as the repository of the male honor. Women are supposed to be the izzat of the community. They have to be protected. They have to be guarded from all types of male miscreants of varied nature and forms. And as a result, to protect the honor of women, such a drive was created by the so-called British police, as well as after independence by the Indian police. In fact, not by the Indian police, by the Ministry of Relief and Rehabilitation under Government of India, to appoint women police. And of course, women police was needed for providing security to the Prime Minister, because the Prime Minister, the then Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, was actually meeting the refugee women. And for his security also, women police were required. And as I said, for the personal search of Parda Nashin women who were crossing the border on both sides of the country, India as well as Pakistan, there was a need, for frisking duty, there was a need for women police personnel. So this was the socio-historical evolution of women in police in India. And so far as the principal duty of women police is concerned in India, the main duty has always been, till now, helping in the investigation of crimes which involve women and children, providing assistance to the local police regarding tracing missing women and children, and every other work related to women and children, be it women offenders, be it women as victim, or women as accused. So they are only concentrated on activities related to women and children. It could be providing assistance to local police in evacuating women and children from disturbed area. It could be meeting order in women's meeting and procession, or it could be guarding women passengers at railway station. So it was mainly concerned only with women and children. So right from the beginning, they played a very gendered role their role was basically very gendered, and they were not given other different types of activities and work to be performed. And though we do not have even now, till date, a national policy for women in police, yet, the police commissions which were formed, the most important being the National Police Commission, which was formed in late 1970s and 1977 by the then Janta government. They actually advocated a very protective and a very preventive role for women police. And again, the main recommendation was always women police to handle women agitators, juvenile delinquents, to deal with women victims of crime, as well as women who are accused of taking part in crime-related activities, as well as to re-establish and reform delinquent girls. So this was the National Police Commission. Then we had a number of state police commissions also, Bihar, West Bengal, Punjab, and other police commissions. But they all actually advocated a very protective and as well as a preventive role for women in police in India. And as during the mid-1970s, violence against women escalated. And we all know about the Mathura incident and all, so I'm not repeating it. But when all these incidents was taking place, in India, the strength of women police was actually less than 1. It was just 0.22% of the total police force in the country. And in 1972 was a very important year so far as the history of women police is concerned. Kiran Bedi became the first woman to join the Indian Police Service. Now, before her also, women had qualified for the Indian Police Service, but they were told that the Indian Police Service is very difficult. It's very strenuous. One has to go for horse riding. There is tough physical training. So it is better they shift to certain allied services like Indian Audit and Account Service or Indian Revenue Service like that, but to avoid Indian Police Service. So for the very first time, when Kiran Bedi was also told the same, but Kiran Bedi insisted that she would like to join Indian police service only. And as she was very determined and she could convince the board of who were interviewing her that she's ready to face all types of challenges so far as the hard training is concerned. Ultimately, the committee agreed, and that is how Kiran Bedi got this Indian police service. And from 1972 onwards, women started getting recruited in Indian police service, but the number of women was very, very few. It was only 1 and 2 in a batch of around 120 to 140. So, however, from 1990s onwards, we find there has been a drive to increase the recruitment of women in police in India. And we find that in way back late 1980s onwards to early 1990s onwards, there was a lot of initiative was taken by Ministry of Home Affairs. The first one was that they formed the 88th Mahila Battalion in Central Reserve Police Force. That is a central police organization. This Mahila Battalion was sent for UN assignments in Liberia as a part of UN mission. And it was an all-women police contingent which was sent for the very first time from India. And moreover, the women in CRPF were also posted in insurgency-affected areas of Jammu Kashmir in 1990 onwards. And Tamil Nadu is the only state in India to have a women police commando force. Now, of course, many states are trying to build up their own commando force, but at one point it was only Tamil Nadu which had developed the commando force, who were very physically tough, and they were given challenging assignments also. As you see the posters, the first one is of the women who are recruited in border security force. They patrol the India-Pakistan border, which is a very sensitive border, and they have been doing ever since 2010. And the next photograph on the right-hand side of the picture of the slide is of the women who are posted in Indian-Tibetan border force. They have been involved in escorting civilians in Kailash Mansarovar Yatra, as well as they guard the India and Tibet border, which is also a very notorious border from where trafficking of women, drugs, arms takes place very steadily. So women have been employed in such places, and they are doing a very good work, not only patrolling, but also other aspects. So far as border area development is concerned, they are involved in such activities also. And this is actually the total strength of women in police. In 2015, it was 1,22,912. By the time it's 2020, it is only 2,17,026. That means there's just an increase of 0.71% within a period of 5 years, which is very less. And this is the contemporary statistics. As I said, there's only 10.5% of the total force in the country who are employed as women police personnel in different ranks, out of which 12.6% are in civil police and the rest are in armed police reserves. Now, coming back to the obstacles women police personnel face, I have divided it into internal factors and external factors. Now, as we all know, some sort of a very protective gendered socialization takes place in family as well as in educational institutions. So as a result, even now, women are not encouraged to join such male profession. However, such socialization patterns are changing, but even now, in urban area, in rural areas and semi-urban areas, still the socialization or conditioning of women takes place in such a manner that they are not encouraged, I should say, to join police forces. And and those women who join police force, there's not a lot of support they get from their family members or from their home. Say, for example, I had spoken to some of the women police who are of the rank of sub-inspector. Now, one of the sub-inspectors women sub-inspector told me that she had gone for a raid with a male team to Orissa. So when she returned, it was quite late. It was around morning 4 o'clock. So she was not allowed to step inside her home by her husband as well as by her mother-in-law because she had still. So coming back to the external factors, now women face a lot of gender stereotyping and a lot of gender discrimination. And I'll tell you how it happens in police force. Say, for example, I spoke to an officer who belonged to 1976 batch of Indian Police Service. Now, she told me that when she got recruited after her training at National Police Academy, she was not given a district posting. Her senior officer, who was a DGP rank, said, like, it is very difficult for him. It was very difficult to deal with a women officer. He was himself confused what work to give to a women officer. Will the women officer be able to work in a police force? Will she be able to perform? So they were such, the male officer had such assumptions that this lady will not be able to work because she is a woman. She is not fit for a police job. So it is better I don't give her a district posting. I just make her sit in a headquarter. And this is something which has followed even in 1980s. When I spoke to an officer of 1989 batch, she belonged to the state of Orissa. She told me that her senior officer had given her posting and her work was actually to look after the account section. Now, as a police officer, you are supposed to be in field. You are supposed to administer a district, look after the law and order of the district, as well as the crime-related activities of the district. But then she was made to sit in a headquarter and was told to do all types of work related to audit and accounts. Then again, I spoke to another officer who was a deputy superintendent of police, and she was posted in Jharkhand state. She too told me that she wanted to accompany a male police team for going for a raid. They were all going for a raid. They wanted to arrest a mafia who was running a crime syndicate. But her senior male officer felt that this woman would not be able to do it and she should not accompany. So the male police officers who are in a decision-making position, they have such stereotyped ideas, such negative ideas about the performance of the women police officers, and that even if women are talented, even if women have potential, they are not given that, including IPS officers, they are not given such posting. So far as West Bengal is concerned, till the left front government had never given any women IPS officer a district posting. The most coveted IPS officer in West Bengal, Damayanti Sen, also never got a district posting. She was Deputy Commissioner of Kolkata Police in North Division, South Division, in Central Division, but was never given an independent charge of a district. She was additional SP headquarter like that, but never a full independent charge of a district, because male officers have a feeling that women will not be able to run a district. I spoke to the then Home Secretary. The Home Secretary told me that I had recommended her name as SP of Howrah district, but unfortunately the political bosses did not agree. There was another incident in West Bengal when the officer concerned, there were only 3 months were left for her to get posted as DIG. And she had become quite a senior level officer. At that time, she was offered SP of a particular district called Balurghat, which is not a very big district in that sense. So in fact, even then the political leaders obstructed and said, no, there's no need to give women officers such charges because they will not be able to handle it. So this was actually the condition till 2011 in West Bengal. Of course, after the present government came to power, they are posting women officers in different districts. Again, as I said, so this chauvinistic attitude, this prejudiced mindset is very much prevalent among the male officers, and mostly it is the male officers, even now, who are in the decision-making position. So as a result of which, as a result of this, even women who have the potential, who have the talent, they do not get a proper posting. And another thing is that because we have very few women officers, the subordinate officers who are in the junior ranks, in the ranks of sub-inspector, or in the ranks of a constable, etc., they do not get proper mentors or proper role model who can provide them proper counseling, related to police work, related to the activities they are required to form, as well as how to handle such non-policing related X factors, I should say. So they do not get proper mentors also. And I had this I would like to mention that there was a particular IPS officer of 1983 batch. Her name is Reena Mitra. She had all the criteria of becoming the director of CBI, but unfortunately, she was left out of that particular post. She was left out because the selection committee meeting was deferred to the day just after her retirement. So she retired on 31st January, and the meeting which was supposed to be held on 29th January, it actually was held on during the first week of February, and that was done it was done by the male IS officers as well as the senior most officers of the Ministry of Home Affairs, and it was done so that a woman doesn't become a director of a premier investigating agency like CBI. So when I spoke to her, she told me this: when being considered to head the investigating body of the country, I wanted to be chosen only on merit, because I was the senior most candidate who fulfilled all the criteria as per the rule. Not because I was a woman, but a woman who deserved it. I did qualify on all parameters to be considered for selection to head the premier investigating body of the country, the CBI. I fulfilled all the essential criteria, including the experience in CBI and anti-corruption. It forced me to wonder if this was indeed the last class ceiling I encountered in my professional career. So this is actually the reality of women in police service in India. Apart from that, their infrastructural facilities in most places are not up to the mark. You hardly have nowadays, of course, they are constructing it under the police modernization grant, but you hardly have restrooms and toilets for such specifically in subordinate ranks. Another thing which is very much prevalent, but it never comes out, is the verbal sexual harassment women in police actually confront. I have seen women officers being told right in front of me by the male officers that women means maternity leave. They join police force, they get married, they go for maternity leave, then childcare leave, so they are always on leave. So this type of comment is are passed on women, and even if they have capability, they are not assigned certain work, and they are told, you will, and there are some men who take undue advantage, like calling women officers late at night and discussing things which are not professional at all. So this type of verbal sexual harassment is very much prevalent, especially among the lower ranks. But unfortunately, police is a very hierarchical service in India, and the subordinate officers, even if they are sexually harassed, very few are actually speak out that what they suffer in their everyday life. And another thing which they face is, because to get accepted in such a profession which is so much masculine, it leads to sort of they start imitating the male police. As a the biggest problem is that if they act too feminine, they are criticized that they are not suitable for the job. At the same time, if they imitate their male colleagues, they are criticized for not acting like a woman. So this is the dilemma they face, like where they have been facing for so many decades, and this is something which is universal. You throughout India, women. I have spoken to women police personnel of different ranks. They have told me the same thing, that it is very difficult. They really don't know whether they should be performing like a women or whether they should be performing like a men. So this is another problem they face. And of course, efforts have taken place to reform women police. One is the National Conference of Women in Police. The training structure has improved, and also research is taking place, which research on women police are being funded by Bureau of Police Research and Development under Ministry of Home Affairs. Now, every year, National Conference of Women in Police is supposed to be held, but it is held after 3-4 years. So the main recommendation has always been mainstreaming of women in police to make them, reach the 33% mark. But unfortunately, what happens is, in these conferences, women participate in uniform. Now, as I said, police is a uniformed hierarchical service. So when the seniors are there, the juniors do not get an opportunity to speak out or to vent their grievances. It is again the women officers who are in the higher ranks, they take the decision. So what happens is, in senior rank, it is the male officers who are deciding for the women officers, and for the junior level, it is the male as well as women officers who are posted in senior ranks. They decide and they express on behalf of such women police who are in the subordinate rank. So what happens is that at the subordinate level, who are the real sufferers, they do not get any opportunity or any platform. Even if they say it's a national conference, they do not get any platform to vent out their grievances. As a result, they always remain neglected. So at the senior rank, it is actually the gender as well as the political aspect, political factors which play an important role in not allowing them to work. And for the subordinate ranks, it is gender as well as their rank both intersect, and as a result of which women are not able to perform, neither are they able to express themselves. So ultimately, the subordinate officers are the most exploited officers in the police system, like all other systems. And of course, now what happens is that post 2000, there have been a number of protective legislation related to women and children, and the Law Commission report of the 84th report actually says that female victims of sexual offences, they should be interrogated by women police officers also. There is a standard operating procedure for investigation related to sexual assault. And in all these SOPs and other, code of criminal procedure, always it is stated that rape victim should be interrogated or investigate. The investigation, the charge of the investigation should be handed over to a women police officer. We have the this Immoral Traffic Prevention Act. Again, the same thing has been said, that special police officer or trafficking police officer, whoever is making a search, should be accompanied by women police officers, and women police officers should be used for their interrogation. The POCSO Act also says the same thing, that the child should be, the child who is a victim of sexual abuse should actually be, the investigation should take place by a women police officer. So the laws and everything related to actually these laws which are supposed to protect women in general, these laws become very restrictive and prohibitive in case of women officers. Because if a women officer wants to do different type of job, she wants, perhaps if she wants to do an investigation of a murder case or a traffic related work, they are not assigned such cases. They are assigned only cases related to women and children. As a result, what happens is that their experiences get very limited. So it is such laws which are meant to be protect the women in our society in general. Such laws are basically restrictive in nature. Such laws are basically prohibitive in nature so far as women police personals are concerned. And as you see it in your screen, the Ministry of Home Affairs has come out with an advisory which says that there should be an investigative unit for crime against women, and in all crime prone district again. So again we are going back to the same gendered work for the police personnel, which a large section of the women police officers are very opposed to. They want to work in different areas. They want to work in different fields, and they just like in other states also. In Telangana, the state police has come out with she teams which are looking after the security and safety of the women who are working in public areas. In Kolkata, we have this winners team. They are there to look after. They are there on streets. This is the winners. This team has been raised by Kolkata police. They are involved in all types of cases related to prevention of eve teasing and all types of sexual assault on roads. So as you see, even in 21st century, when a woman is ready to work in different areas related to so-called police work, it could be investigation, it could be traffic related, it could be forensic, but they are only concentrated on cases related to women and children only. So it's a very they are going back to the same gender segregated activities which women in general, specifically the women who are getting recruited now, they don't want it. They want to be mainstreamed. They want to work. They want to be integrated with the entire police force, and they do not want to be concentrated in all these victim assistance and reception desk and duties. So all these things, as I said, it would create a gender role typecasting in the workplace. They want to break it out. In the transitional phase, it was fine. They were being concentrated on women and children, but now they want to be integrated. Now they want to be mainstreamed. But such laws, as well as the guidelines which have been issued by Ministry of Home Affairs, actually leads to a gender segregated services, which the women in police in India in general oppose it. And they, in a sense, now, of course, women are coming out, they are working in different areas, but again, they are not being allowed to work. So that is a big problem. Another thing which is said is that, gender equality, what should be how would you define gender equality in police? Gender equality in police is not something that a women officer has to become like a male officer. Or gender equality in police actually implies optimum utilization of the skills and the potentialities of women in police force, and that skills need to be developed. And if you have to develop the skills, you have to work in different areas. So that should be in 21st century. If we really want mainstreaming, if we really want an integrated police force, we should give women opportunities to work. They should be given equal opportunities to work, and there should be a gender bias and a stress-free working environment. That is something which every women police actually want. But unfortunately, they are not getting it in our society. And I think it's time, so I should end now. Thank you. Was I audible?
Yes, ma'am. You were audible.
Ma'am, could you hear it?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm very sorry for that internet disruption.
No, ma'am. That's all right. Thank you so much, ma'am, for such an interesting paper. Now we have certain questions in the chat box. Malini Mukherjee wants to know, she's saying that thanks for the enriching presentation, ma'am. Can reservation in police force will warranty more gender diversity?
I don't think so. They don't want reservation. They want an open recruitment. They don't want any kind of reservation. Actually restricts them. They want equal. I mean, I have spoken to a lot of women police officers. They have said they are totally against reservation of related thing. They do not want that. But unfortunately, it is happening. But they don't want it. I mean, the women police don't want it. If you want, they want open recruitment. They want they want open recruitment. Let there be open recruitment, equal training, and given opportunities where they can perform equally and not just being concentrated on women and child desk. In fact, there are women officers who have told me the women police stations which have been formed all over India, I think now it's more than 700, they do not want to work there. They want to work in general police stations. That's what the women officers have told me. Anybody else?
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, Pooja Shukla, she says, recently we came across the story of Tulika Mann, the judo silver medalist of Commonwealth Games. Her mother, Amrita Mann, ASI in Delhi Police. After her daughter's win, Amrita told reporters the story of her sleepless nights juggling between police station and her daughter's training academy. Can we say that women in police face more difficulties than any other profession?
Yes, it is. Because, they don't get the support from their family. The infrastructural facilities are not there. I have come across officers who have told me there was in 1984, there was in Delhi, the Sikh riots. So women officers have told me, like even in senior rank, that there was nobody to attend her child who was very sick. So she had to carry her child, and the child was sleeping in the jeep, and she was going for patrolling in that riot-prone area in Delhi. So they face a lot of challenges. Even now, you see, it is not like a normal job. We all enjoy, we all go for puja pandals, we go for hopping from one pandal to another. What do they do? For continuous 5 days, there is duty for more than 12 to 14 hours. So it's not a normal job. It's not a normal 9 to 5 job. It's a very, I shouldn't, the way you take it, if you're interested, if you have an aptitude, then you will not take this into that this is a difficult job. But what happens is that women in general do not get that support. That infrastructure is not there, which can help a woman to balance between her home and her work. That much is not there nowadays. They are actually they are actually coming up with creches and daycare centers, but it is not always possible to use daycare centers and creches. Like you have this IPL meetings, IPL matches were held in Eden Gardens, and also many officers have said by the time IPL match is over and Shah Rukh Khan goes out of the stadium, it's 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. At that time, junior officers are not given any they have to travel on their own. There's no such infrastructural help which is provided by the police force. So at that time, it becomes very difficult. And if you don't have the family support, it is more difficult. It is a difficult job, but yes, of course, if you are interested in policing, you will not take the difficult aspect. You will convert your challenges into opportunities. And there are officers who have converted their challenges into opportunities.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question, Utkolika Shahar, she writes, it is a really interesting and informative presentation. I'm actually curious to know what made you choose this particular title for your study. How far is it ensured that women victims are investigated by women officers?
See, one thing I should say, men per se are not insensitive, and women per se are not very sensitive either also. I will give you an example. I had come. A male officer had told me there were two women constables. They were receiving, not very professional messages from a male officer, and they had their senior as a women officer. But they went to the CID of CID West Bengal, that is in Bhavani Bhavan, and they spoke to a male officer who was of ADG rank. And see, police is a hierarchical service. So constable opening mouth in front of an ADG who is a male officer, is also a very great thing. But then why could they speak to that particular person? Because that person was sensitive enough to understand it. Whereas a women officer who were their immediate senior actually was not understanding. And also women have, women in senior ranks, they have this, if they listen too much to the juniors, women police in subordinate rank, if they listen too much to them, they will be accepted as women officer in the police force, not as police officer. So they also many of them actually sideline women officers in subordinate rank. But this particular male officer actually listened to these two women constables and he took action. So it is not always that male officers are insensitive. Yes, there have been instances where in police stations and police outposts, male officers have misbehaved, they have assaulted. But that does not mean that all male police officers are insensitive. And women also, when they are part of the society, they too internalize patriarchal values. And they too, in their work, implement it also. So it may be in a very subtle manner, but that comes up. So, of course, maybe for a women accused or a women victim, it is easier perhaps to speak in front of a woman. But how a woman will deal with it, because there are women officers who have told me, if I say it in Bangla, ek kotha megulu eshe bole, ek kotha shunte shunte bhalo lage na, kichu adjustment kore na. So they too have stereotyped ideas. So it is not always that if you post women officers, everything will become very good. And if there are male officers, they will not deal with the women victim properly. You need to actually allow both male and female officers to work together. Then both of them can learn from each other their good points, and they can use it for doing good work in the society. This is what I feel.
Thank you so much, madam. I personally want to share a thing with you. In Delhi crimes, we have seen Shefali Shah is being referred to as Madam Sir.
Yes.
This role has been so masculine and this role has been so gendered that even if there is a lady police officer, she is being referred to as Madam Sir.
Yes. And there is a book which is published by Manjari Jarohar, whose example I gave, the first women IPS officer in Bihar, who was not given a posting, district posting. She has come out with a book. The title of the book is Madam Sir. It is being brought out by Penguin. It got published last week. So the title of the book is Madam Sir. And they used to call her Madam Sir. They were not, even now they call many senior officers as Madam Sir. They themselves don't know how to address it. So that is the reality of women in police in India.
Yes, madam. Thank you so much, madam.
You're most welcome. I'm very sorry for that disturbance due to internet connection.
No, madam. These things keep on happening. Thank you so much for such an interesting paper, ma'am.
Okay.
Any other question? Participants, if you have any other question, you can put it in the chat box, please. Anamika Verma says, very enlightening lecture, ma'am. In light of the discussion, a little observation. The language that is employed by police personnel of all ranks, both women and men, use against criminals per se is abusive and is female-centered. How such issues can be handled?
Through gender sensitization. And it is not only through gender sensitization, it should be handled right from your childhood. It should be handled at home. It should be handled in educational institution. Wherever you go, there should be, right from the childhood, the environment should be created that they do not use such abusive languages. But it is also true, there are certain hardcore criminals who will not understand proper, soft, sophisticated languages. I mean, there is a particular person, I have done work on underworld in Kolkata. So I had come across certain gangsters. Now, if you use so-called proper languages for them,
it is not possible for them. Actually, this is a reality. It is not possible for them to deal with them by using proper, sophisticated languages. That is also a reality. There are gangsters in Alipur and Presidency Jail, Gabbar, Muhammad Rashid Alam. He uses such languages and he's so powerful that the entire correctional officers can't control him. So in that situation, if you use non-abusive languages, it will not work. I'm not justifying it. It is wrong. It should not happen. There should be proper gender sensitization courses. So there should be proper socialization. The family, school, educational institutions all should play a very important role. But the reality is that if you work in police thanas and if you work in jails, sophisticated languages really don't work. The reality, and it is very easy to speak about women police, jails and everything, in these webinars, but people who deal with it actually knows what the problem is. This is what I feel.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
You're most welcome. May I leave now?
Yes, ma'am. You may leave now.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am.